The Atlanta art scene is one of the freshest in the country, and the city has provided some amazing spots for artists to showcase their work. Thanks to developments like the Beltline and the West End, so many talented artists are now in the spotlight all over town. And Eric 9 is right in the middle of it. This independent artist is quickly becoming a regular fixture, with work popping up all over the city. His distinctive style stands out in Castleberry and towers over Boulevard next to the zoo. The newest resident artist of Skylark in East Atlanta, he is also using his medium to stand up for change and make an impact. From working with the king of pops to the king of trap, Eric 9's talent cannot be ignored. I was excited to interview Eric so we could explore the artist's lifestyle and the freedom this visual expression brings. Sharing your voice on such a grand scale is a privilege few of us enjoy. I often ask my guests if they had a billboard for all the world to see, what would they put on it? Well, Eric has just completed a 5-story mural of exactly that, and wait till you see it. While I had many expectations going into this interview, the last thing I was expecting was sound business advice and principles. But surprisingly, that's exactly what I got. Great business advice and best practices that would serve any entrepreneur or small business owner incredibly well. Eric 9 may be an artist at heart, but his process and his plan are all business. Learn how to value your work and plan every detail from an artist who claims to know nothing of the sort. Check out my extraordinary conversation with Eric 9. So where are we? What are we doing, man? Where is this place?
We're in my new studio here at Skylark, right next to Grant Park in Atlanta, Georgia. This is a new property. They just built this place. These nice apartment homes and condos and studios. And the property approached me and offered me this nice, beautiful studio with a full kitchen.
Brand new.
Brand new, bathroom, shower.
It's amazing.
For a whole year for exchange for some murals and some help kind of setting up the decor
That's
and whatnot.
amazing.
So big blessing.
Yeah.
Great way to start such a horrible year.
Yeah, right, for sure. Well, and this blessing came as a result of some other work that you've been doing and some seeds you've been planting, and that was actually how we first met.
Yeah, at the edge over there on the Beltline, another property that's associated with Skylark in some way or another.
Yeah, they're all managed and owned by the same company.
Yeah.
Parent
So
company. We'll have to give them a shout out in the show notes as well.
That's where we met. I was doing a mural for them, and that's exactly. They were happy with what happened there with the mural and the opening, and they were like, "Hey, come over here. We want to talk to you about this other property."
It's beautiful how those opportunities come together.
Yeah, man.
And we cannot go without saying something about Brandon Anderson, because he's the one who introduced us. And
That's the camera guy. That's my eyes right now.
That's a solid dude, man.
Ever since that, and that was last year, the end of last year, me and him have been working consistently.
Yeah,
consistently. Like anything that I consider like, okay, this is actually worth looking at, I'm calling Brandon like, hey, you got to be here.
Yeah, it's actually been kind of killing me because it's taken him away from all the projects I had lined up for him. So
I feel you're paid because he's always doing something else too, like music videos or the recording the skating and stuff. So
we talk about how you've really blown up over here recently and have had all these opportunities coming up. Well, the same has been the case with him. I mean, he's gotten to be such in such demand. Like I said, I had all these plans for him, and now I can't even get him to return my phone calls because he's got so much going on. But blessings to him and kudos to him for what he's doing, and both of y'all.
I think that's a testament to Atlanta. Like, if you got a good skill set and a hustle behind it, like, it's really not hard to plug in. Like, as an independent creative.
Well, and I'll tell you too, the thing that struck me about Brandon, and is something that I kind of strive for, and it comes along with any artist, is all that hard and free work that you put in, getting your name out there, getting exposure, growing your audience, and letting people know that you're out there. I mean, he had to. He had a long haul for that.
And you can see it. You can see it when you see his equipment list. Like, he has the top of everything, and not just like, okay, I got that, but I got the best of that. Cameras that I've never seen, contraptions. I was like, "Do you have a drone?" And he was like, "Which one?" So
dude's got gear, man, for sure.
He's a good person to have in the circle.
One of the benefits of not being married or having kids, you've got disposable income to play with.
Yeah, he's out there recording and doing backflips on his rollerblades. And
amazing dude, dude. Well, so on that note, let's go ahead and jump into this thing, man. This is the Extraordinary Podcast, and my guest today is Eric Nine.
What's up? Thanks for having me.
Hanging out on the east side of Atlanta. It's funny, I thought this studio was on the west side because that's typically where we've hung out, or where I typically hang out when I come downtown nowadays. But this kicking on the east side, dude, in this brand new complex. This is amazing.
I stay in Upper West Side, but
you stay on that side
down here. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny too. I should mention one of my other good buddies that lives down here, right over by the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Basically lives right across the street from one of your murals, the one with the hair with the butterflies coming out.
Oh, nice.
He's literally right across the street. I was pulling into his. I had seen your post on Instagram of the mural, but I hadn't seen that one in person. Yeah. And I'm going down there to see him, and I'm pulling in the parking lot. I'm like, wait a second, there it is. Yeah, it's like, dude, you're popping up all over Atlanta, man.
You just reminded me, I have to go do some repairs on that mural. Like, some of the weather was making some of the wall peel or something. But
no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, it looked good when I saw it, man, for sure. So
it comes with the territory. You got to do your own maintenance.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. On these big murals and stuff, do you put a kind of sealer? But coming from a contractor, I'm going to ask you some really dorky questions.
No, that's cool. And I'll answer what I can, because, like, I can't, like, front. Like, I've been doing this for a super long time. Like, it's been 5 years max, maybe 4 years of, like, me, like, okay, I'm doing murals now. And it's picked up really a lot in the last, like, year and a half. But so no, I don't put coats now unless the client asks, and it's happened twice. And it's usually where there's high traffic, and there is this clear coat that's actually, you can even, I've described it as, I've heard it described as graffiti proof, but basically it's a clear coat that makes it washable.
Nice.
But I've also learned that you don't apply a clear coat on wood. So, like, I've painted fences, and the client wanted to clear coat it to protect it, but with the weather change, the wood needs to breathe, and it changes size, and so does the paint. So you need to leave that.
Yeah, because you've got humidity and moisture coming in out of the wood.
So at that point, it's
surface,
really like you're really just gonna have to do maintenance work on the painting eventually. Just come touch it up.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So, when did you first identify as an artist? When did you start figuring this out?
The stereotypical answer that every artist says, I've been doing this forever.
Yeah, since birth kind of thing.
Yeah, like before school started, I had my first gallery on my mom's fridge, and I just remember really young as the one thing that I was always getting in trouble for everything, and I was kind of like, I don't know, I was just a bad kid, but that was the one thing I remember them being very proud, and that's probably. Well, it was like, well, I would just do just do that.
So you were on the artist path from day one. You never even considered trying to go a more traditional route or anything like that?
Nah, I went the graphic design and kind of like the commercial route for college, kind of like chasing money or thinking that like fine art or street art or like murals at that time wasn't really on the radar, But outside of like trying to venture outside of drawing or outside of like visually communicating, I always knew that was my strength, and I always knew what my weaknesses are. So like I was like, let me just stay in my lane.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, because it's so true with the artists. I mean, not only they have that talent and that gift for art, but
we got
they
problems.
typically do not fare well in that traditional arena and that traditional school structure. But now, I mean, the more I'm looking back on it, I'm realizing very few people actually do fit into those little boxes and categories.
True.
Artists just kind of, I think, lead the way of showing you how we shouldn't be in those boxes.
Yeah. I never force myself to do something I know I'm not good at, or I don't have a passion for. Like, you're just gonna get the worst of me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Right. Well, and it's like anything else. The more into it you are, and the more fun it is, the more you will try. The more you will learn. The more you will put in effort to become better at it.
Yeah.
If you're like anything, you enjoy what you do, then you naturally want to get better at it.
And I found when I put my own name on things, that's when you get the best out of me. And it's kind of like, that's something else that clicked in my head a long time ago. I was like, well, look, my best work is when I know it's reflective of me directly, not like my employer. You know what I mean? Right.
Where they're kind of giving you a guideline to follow, and as
right.
opposed to just letting you do your thing.
So like I was like, let me just focus on that, and it's a win-win because I could keep promoting myself and keep getting better work. And so it's been working out.
So this year has been an incredible. I mean, COVID-19 has thrown everybody on their ear, and this year has been really challenging for a lot of us, myself included. But you've had a lot of successes this year. Would you take just a second to kind of highlight a couple of those and maybe talk a little bit about some of the projects that you've been able to do this year?
Yeah, but first let me say, like, not every project you get paid for. So like you'll see me working consistently, and that's because I keep myself busy between paying projects. So yes, when COVID hit, I had just started a mural at K&K Soul Food.
Is that the seafood one?
No, I had finished that right before
just finished the
COVID, right?
Okay.
And that gave me a little breathing space when COVID hit and everything slowed down, and while everybody's panicking, and I was like, man, I don't know what's gonna happen. I was fortunate enough that I did pick up a few mural jobs that have been floating me through. But K&K Soul Food is a staple in Atlanta. It's been there for. She told me the history is just impressive, but I don't remember the details. She had me paint this long wall, and she was happy with the first half that she decided to pay to go ahead and get the second half done too. So that was a blessing. Right before that, I did the soul food, seafood. What was it? The seafood thing for Killer Mike.
It was for Killer Mike and T.I., I believe, but it was somewhere on the West End. I don't think it's opened yet, has it?
No, they got the food truck running around.
Nice.
But they're going to actually tear that building down and build a whole new thing there top of the.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So then you might get another opportunity out of that one then, hopefully.
I hope so, man. I mean, that's not the first thing I've done for T.I. I did a few things for Trap Museum.
Nice.
The Trap Music Museum.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope to continue a relationship with Killer Mike. I absolutely love everything that guy stands for.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of good, man.
Yeah, and his music is dude. I love Run the Jewels.
I was going to say Run the Jewels is my new thing.
I cannot. They just dropped.
Well, that's how I found him. It's so funny. I old school, like Outkast and all that, but like I never really got much into Future, and I didn't really keep up with Killer Mike really much at all in Atlanta. But then it wasn't until he hooked up with the other dude and did Run the Jewels, and now I heard Run the Jewels, and I just lost my mind. I mean, that's some unreal music.
I was fans of LP when he was with Company Flow from New York. I'm originally from New York. I've lived up and down the East Coast, but everywhere I've been, I love Atlanta. Like, I could not be doing what I do here anywhere else. I believe that. But you mix New York and Atlanta. So, I mean,
it's like the best of both worlds, right?
Man, I leave it on repeat. Like,
LP has just the beats that dude comes up with, they're pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
And like what Killer Mike's the first guy to say, like his LP's beats and his flow, they just marry together so well.
Yeah, I think I like, not even I think, I know I like Killer on the Run the Jewels beats more than some of the older stuff that he was originally doing, featured on Outkast and some of his and stuff. So yeah,
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So with the murals, what was your first big win with the murals?
Pepsi came and hired me to do a Super Bowl mural.
Wow.
So it's very dope opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
mean,
like,
working with somebody that big,
yeah,
that's
and
huge.
also it was through ABV Gallery, which is one of the galleries I personally have a very high respect for, that Greg Mike owns and runs. And so they were looking for, artists to represent the brand, and they gave them, I guess they did some research. My name came up. They approached me, and I was like, oh, let me think about it. Yes. Yeah. So
Okay.
no, it was a rush job. I only had like 2 days to do it. And the first day it was like 32 degrees, and the second day it was like 27 degrees.
Oh, man.
Like I got lucky that I could pull my car up like right to the wall. So I'm out there with a handful of my friends, and I would, at one point, like the cans were freezing, you know?
Right, yeah, because once you get below freezing,
Yeah.
they don't want to cooperate.
Right. So I had cans in the car, and I was rotating cans, and then I would run in the car, and like have to sit there for like 10 minutes, warm up to make my next decision, and be like, hey, make it count. Go out there, climb the ladder, and even with gloves, like, your hands are freezing and everything. So, but nothing was gonna stop me.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, yeah. When you get an opportunity like that, it's like
it was cool, man. It was great.
It
was obviously a good paycheck, but more importantly, it kind of like was like it was like the universe telling me, I told you could do this. Like,
it's that credibility factor, right?
Well, also, yeah, like it's like
for yourself,
yeah,
self-vindication kind of thing.
Yeah, and once you can touch something, it becomes real. So, it's made everything more attainable.
Yeah.
So it was a great experience.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's funny. The very first mural you're doing, you're in the freezing cold and your hands are freezing up, whatever. And now here, your last mural, you're jumping in the pool every 5 minutes, sweating your face off.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah,
going from one extreme to the other.
I'm over here like making sure I have the most like powerful sunblock because the sun is no joke out here.
Yeah, seriously. Well, and where you're set up to do your thing, I mean, you're full exposure, so yeah, that can be kind of tough.
It was a good thing, poolside mural. You can't be mad. You're at the side of a pool, so it's usually like some kind of entertainment there, and then no matter how hot it gets, there's the pool.
Right. You've always got that instant relief right there.
So I was like painting, looking like I was straight on vacation. It's just like my shorts and my flip flops and my cans.
A lot worse ways to spend a day on the job, right?
Yeah.
A working day could be a lot worse than that for sure. Well, we were talking about that earlier. It's like that when you take a second to reflect back on that, you realize that gratification. You realize how blessed we are, with what we have.
For sure.
It's good to be able to take a second to reflect back on that, man, for sure.
Yeah, that was definitely one of those moments. I told a handful of my friends, like, that same thing. I was like, man, I was just realizing, like, I'm blessed, and, we make a conscious effort to try to figure out things to do for the community or figure out ways to give back or whatever. But, just to keep the karma going, because I don't know, I must have did something right. I'm definitely blessed.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that you're doing right that you talked about earlier is that you keep working, whether it's a paid gig or not. And we were talking about this a little bit with Brandon and myself included. It's like you're constantly honing your craft regardless. It's like if you weren't getting paid a dime, you would still be producing art. If Brandon wasn't ever to make another dime on video, he'd still be making more videos. If I was never to make another dime on the podcast, I would still be making more podcasts because it's what we love. And I think that constantly doing the work and getting better all the time, then you become known for that. Like Brandon became known for his video craft. You've become known as this fixture in Atlanta of producing art, on the streets of Atlanta.
Like in any craft or any job, that's a win for you. Like if you're doing something passionate about, even when you're clocking in to work for someone else, when you come out, you love it so much that you're still learning, researching, talking about it with your friends. But when you're an independent, it's critical. Like you don't survive unless you have that.
Yeah, you'll never make it.
No
you
one
have the passion.
Yeah, like and as much as like and the downside of that is kind of what I was dealing with earlier today is just like there is a struggle of staying self-motivated. Like I come here by myself. I try to have people around me that keep me accountable. And I check
But you're not having to clock in. You're not having to have
I have no one to answer to. I don't have to wake up in the morning if I don't want to. And so there's definitely days where I'm like excited and I'm like looking at what I have coming forward, and I'm like on 10. But in between that, there's these very real days where it's like, what am I doing? And, why am I sitting here for like 6 hours staring at the wall?
That's the ones that kill me. It's like it's the loss of opportunity. Like you reflect back, like I just lost a day, and I didn't do any. Like I didn't produce anything. I didn't get anything accomplished that I'd hoped to. Yeah. I can totally relate to that because I'm in the same boat. Without that, I really have very little accountability out there in the real world. I don't even have a lot of people that I can go to try to get some of that accountability. So it's tough, man. It's like a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah,
You love being your own boss and having that independence and freedom, but then it can be it's tough to be a taskmaster to yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm real curious. So like you're kind of becoming an established fixture in Atlanta, and there's a lot of up-and-coming artists that would love to do what you do. What's some advice that you would have to a traditional artist trying to figure out how to make a living, how to be successful in this field? What would be some advice that you would have for them?
It's not like the art world anymore. It's like the art universe. Like, you need to know what you want to do. Because one talent comes like with a lot of different choices, and I feel like the more you can just focus in on one direction, one specialty, even if it's just temporary, like you're not like you got to do it for the rest of your life, but focus in. I found that helpful because I started just doing everything, and you get pulled all different ways, and you don't become a master of one thing, I don't even know, man.
Well, that's relative advice in not just in the art world, but like because that relates to me and my situation where I'm really having to hone in on one specific message. Because it's like you're saying, like I've got this stuff I want to do, I've got this stuff I want to do, and there's all these different avenues I think are gonna pay off.
Right. So like when I started, I was doing mostly graphic design, right? Then I started painting, and I was doing canvases and shows. And then I started doing body painting. And then I was doing, at the same time, T-shirts. And then still doing graphic designs, had consistent clients that I'm making, like, promotional material for or whatever. And then by the time I started making money on canvases, luckily... Well, it's like a conscious choice. Then start letting go of the graphic work. But a lot of that time when I was doing everything, if I would have kind of just said no to some of the I don't know, the body painting work that I did was just for the fun of it. But if I wasted time on that, I could have took that time and focused in on something that I knew I was going to do a little bit more long term.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know if that's gonna help anybody, but that's some advice. Like try to find what it is, and once you find it, go in that direction, and don't be distracted, because even if you're going in the wrong direction for a little bit, at least you're learning that 100%. I had a job at an ad agency before I moved to Atlanta. I went to Boston for a while. And while I was at that agency, I was like, man, I'm about to make these commercials, and I got into it. And I was there for over 3 years. I was into it for a good 2 years straight of like really dedicating myself to learning the Nielsen ratings, how buying and selling works, how advertising works. Yeah, digging into all that marketing. The science of marketing, of like how you got to see things, the repetition, how a different side of visual communication, right? Thinking that I was going to be drawing, I was going to be a director, I was going to be coming up with ideas and drawing my own storyboards and blah, blah, blah. And I learned a lot. It was a great experience. And then the company got bought out, and corporate America happened, and they started letting these layoffs, and so I got laid off. They gave me this great package, and I took that money and moved to Atlanta. Anyway, I say all that. So I'm not in advertising. I don't do commercials in that sense. But that little bit of time I spent focused only on that. I wasn't focused on a bunch of stuff.
Right.
That knowledge, I still retain it a lot clearer I know, and it serves me.
I was gonna say, and it probably serves
No,
you well
it serves
in
me
with
better
the art
now.
you're now.
Yeah, than if I didn't give it the attention it deserved. So like, if you're gonna pick a craft, give it the attention it deserves.
Commit.
Yeah, commit to it, or else you're not gonna get what you need out of it. You
Right,
know?
that makes perfect sense. There's so many techniques with art and artwork. So did you have anybody that was like a mentor for you coming up through this, or did you learn a lot of this on your own, or how did that kind of come to be?
I had a lot of mentors, but none of them knew they were my mentor. I didn't have anyone I talked to or asked questions to, but I studied like Anthony Lister is a mentor of mine. Hebrew Brantley is a mentor of mine. W here in Atlanta is a mentor of mine. Michi here in Atlanta is a mentor of mine. All these artists represent totally different things, you know. All of these artists, some of them live in a world that's loose and free, and some of them live in a world that's very disciplined. And it's beautiful to see how a disciplined lifestyle, what fruits that brings, and the opposite, what fruits that brings.
Like from a creative perspective.
From a creative perspective.
Tell me a little bit more about that. I'm curious about
So, probably like one of the artists that's have had the biggest influence on me, creative, but even professional artist, is W. Okay. So he's the founder and curator of Art Beats and Lyrics. So getting to know him, like I was a fan of him before I even lived in Atlanta. So coming to Atlanta, meeting him, actually becoming friends, like we talk and we're friends. Really getting to know him. His approach is very disciplined, and he likes to fully understand a medium, the proper, improper way to do things. He's meticulous. If you look at his sketchbook, at least the one that he shows people, you can see how he thinks, and it's clean. There's measurements, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And he told me one thing that isn't true. I used to believe it as a kid, but it's a good reflection on how I see W. He's like, yeah, because if you're doing this painting and you mess up, you gotta white it out and start over. And he told me that early in our friendship, and I remember me just not liking that. I was just like, oh, I hate that pressure, and that's why I was scared to even paint. I always did digital art because I could erase it easy. But then some other artist said, oh, if you mess up, just paint over it. But the wording was different, and I accepted it differently.
Yeah, totally.
Like, why am I scared to paint? It's so easy, just like I could. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off the subject,
No.
But back to the point. So W, if you look at his art, like there's no one like him. His stuff has been featured in magazines around the world. So on the other side, I would say another good friend of mine is Michi. Michi's style, you can't predict it. You know his work when you see it, and he's not only a painter, but he makes sculptures, and he's way more conceptually driven than math. So it's like this weird like balance of like passion and discipline, where I see Michi have this loose creations, but I feel these emotions, and then I look at W's work and I'm just in awe of it, of how like the reality of it, or
what crispness and the
detail.
detail.
And it's just as effective of getting a message across as Michi's style is. So I would love to live in a world in between where I could do both, you know, but I definitely feel like I lean more to, I like to just make it up in the moment. I don't like pre-planning things too much. I feel like it hinders the process.
Yeah, but
sometimes.
You can also see some of that attention to detail and some of that meticulous stuff too that reflects. I think your artwork does reflect a bit of both.
I want to just keep pushing in that balance. That balance makes it fun to me, and maybe because I'm a Libra, and there is like this consistency of like this concept of balance and everything in my life. I could see.
It's very cool.
Yeah, man.
So, are you mentoring any other people? Are there anybody that you're kind of helping along this path as well?
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose, but you never know who you're reflecting on, right? And who you're having an impact on.
I
That's
have
one of the cool things.
a lot of friends online that are young artists, and I answer any question, and it's cool, man. Like, social media is this weird thing. Like, there's a lot of people that I'm like really consider friends and am close to, and I never seen them. And then, like, and here in Atlanta is like a big city, but it's really small. You're gonna run into everybody, so it happens a lot here, where they're like, "Oh, Eric, what's up? I'm such and such," or they'll say their real name, and I'm like, "Well, what do you call yourself on Instagram?"
Oh, you're that guy.
And they're like, "Oh, yeah, right, exactly."
That's hilarious. Yeah. Well, in that same vein, what's a technique or some kind of trick of the trade that you'd be willing to share with the listeners, myself, and any aspiring artists that when it comes to doing murals and things like that? What's some little tips of the tricks of the trade, if you will?
Do what I say, not what I do. 'Cause I could give you really good advice.
That's terrible advice.
No, I could give you really good advice. That's just I don't follow it myself. But the best advice I could give you, and especially if it's a job you're getting paid for, is plan it out in detail. Like, know exactly what you're doing. If I have a job for a client, like I have this 5-story wall I'm about to do,
that
and like
monster.
Yeah, and hopefully like in the next week or two, like that, I have that planned out to the T. I know each color, where each color goes, have it measured, blah blah blah. Smaller projects or more like loose projects, I like that freedom, and it kind of comes with the territory, and the people that hire me understand that, But advice for anybody coming up: plan every detail. One mistake can cost you a day. One miscalculation, and then you're dealing with a client that has an expectation. So the more you prep, actually, the faster the job goes. It's like that old saying.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
What was that old saying? Measure twice, cut once.
Yeah, I'm a carpenter. I know that one all too well.
So, but yeah, that's a major thing that I learned. I had got this awesome like project at Star Bar. I don't know if you remember Star Bar.
I do remember
at
Star
Little
Bar.
Five.
Yeah.
So they had a green room back there. And this is back when Star Bar was like
the spot.
Yeah. And that green room was just like a mess, but that's where all the bands would like hang out. And it was just covered with like graffiti and a bunch of penises everywhere.
Sounds about right.
So PBR hired me to paint the whole thing. I counted, bro. I lost count. I counted like 57 penises. They were drawn on the ceiling. They were everywhere, bro. So like, all right, we want to change the decor. So
just one giant penis.
So they're like, hey, so we're gonna give you this money. I was brand new. Like, this might have been my second mural. Like,
no kidding.
Brand new. Like,
nice.
I was like fronting, like I knew what I was doing, but I knew I was an artist and I knew how to do it, right? So I went in with this idea. He goes, yeah, I like the Braves, and the owner at the time, he's like, I like women. I like voluptuous women. And so I did this like I had this Indian idea, and I was going to do this Pocahontases and, cool. kind of thing. And they're back there smoking. So I was like, I'll just do the peace pipes and kind of whatever.
Right.
And so there's 2 points to the story. First point is I didn't have a plan. I just had like these sketches that I showed them. They're like, okay. I didn't even know where I was going to place the drawings. I was just like, here's a starting point, right? And the second point is, don't get too comfortable in your job, because I would go there and I'd drink for free. I'm hanging out with the band, and I'm brand new. Like, I'm new on the scene. So right. I'm like, oh, shit.
Who's this kid?
Well, not that. Like, my perspective of things, I'm like I couldn't wait to just go hang out and shit. Like, right. I wasn't really mature enough.
You weren't focused on the job at hand.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, real talk, I wasn't mature enough for the opportunity. If I had an opportunity like that now, it would be a way different story.
Different
Still
experience.
have fun.
Yeah.
But it would have been. So, long story short, I told him I needed a week. It took 3 weeks to get me out of there. And at the end, because
you were the resident artist at that point.
Dog, at the end, because all I was doing was partying back there and having friends come through, that whole Braves and Pocahontas thing turned into this Star Wars mesh, where it was like I took the Indian chief and turned him into Jabba the Hutt.
I was gonna say like Chewbacca or something.
And I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. And I put, you know how Jabba the Hutt has the alien slave girl dancing, but she was in chains. So then I put the Pocahontas in chains. I got in trouble for that.
Oh,
that
geez.
was not a good idea.
That was not well thought out.
And then I took the one cool thing I did was I took Boba Fett and I put him with a bow and arrow and feathers coming out of his hat, out of his helmet. It's like, I still like that idea.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, long story short, there was a lot of love for the work. There was a lot of hate for the work. The girl that hired me got fired.
Oh.
And they finally were like, dude, when are you going to just be done? And I was like, okay, I'm done. And it is what it is. I look back at I like it. Most people look back and think, oh, that's dope as fuck. But it was just, if I would have planned it out, it could have been at that early of a stage in my career.
Yeah.
It could have been
helpful.
way better.
It probably would have turned out better.
Yeah, it could have been better. The art could have been better, and the whole turnout, and like, you know how it is, relationships.
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue into the next question I wanted to ask you is about like how, as an artist, because I come from the contracting background, and you're always setting expectations with your customers about like what the project's going to look like at the end of the day. And like for me, it's like remodeling a kitchen or a basement. It's pretty easy to present what that final product is going to look like. Mm-hmm. How do you manage expectations with your customers in that regard? Because you're freeform a lot of times. Like they don't even really fully know what they're getting sometimes, right?
Yeah, they always have an idea. Dude, I haven't had a paying customer yet just give me free total rings.
Right, they just said do whatever you want.
And I don't think that's because I couldn't ask for it, or I've had people be like, do what you want, but that's because I need to at least be in the same.
Yeah, because you want to set some of your own expectations, right? Yeah. And you're painting unicorns, and they're expecting a rhinoceros or something, you know. Like
right. But at the same time, you know, I do think that will happen, and I want to shout out Trenton Yard, my boy over there. I'm trying to. He's gonna let me paint some of his walls, and I was actually thinking about the only thing he's told me that he wants to see Iron Man, and I made these little mock-ups, you know, using Photoshop, like, oh, we do something like this, like that, but I think I want to just be like, okay, cool, I'll include Iron Man, and just let me paint. So, bro, if you hear this, hopefully we work that out. Yeah. But even the Edge, for example, so. They were like, okay, we like your art. And I was like, well, you know, you can paint what you want, but you have to kind of show us. So I showed them loose ideas. I just showed them 2 ideas, a previous painting of mine. And I was like, I would love to paint something like this, but understand this is kind of like a very loose beginning, and I'm going to finish it how I want. And another idea, and luckily they liked the painting, and they were kind of cool. I had a good person representing me there too.
Nice.
Melania looked out, and she was really the one that had the confidence in me to be confident enough to tell the higher ups, be like, look, just he's dope, trust him. And they let me, you know, have freedom. I went literally like took the thing, pole drew,
right.
Figured it out just like a sketch, you know, there. And once I was happy with that, I got the elephant and the main ballerina clean. And then the rest of that's just freestyle.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that you can show someone freestyle.
But the one cool thing about your Twisted Circus theme, though, is there's a little bit of a commonality across that. Like, all of those different pictures that are within that, like that mural included, they all have some commonality there. There's all like a theme, an overriding theme.
Yeah. Really, the theme is the elephant and the ballerina.
Yeah.
And the whole Twisted Circus concept is like us trying to fit in where a lot of people think we don't belong.
Well, and it's got that whole masculine-feminine dynamic to it as well that really it's very appealing to folks. You know, it makes your art very appealing.
It's a great. They're great characters for me to say anything I want. And I always say I paint feelings, and one of my strengths is like I understand feelings and relationships, and I have a deeper passion for that side of life, you know? And so those 2 characters, I can talk about anything, you know? And the whole masculine, feminine, also like one of them is human and one of them is not even human. So
Yeah, like man versus nature kind of thing.
it could be anything.
God,
So
there's so
like,
many different plays on that.
so
yeah.
like I'm definitely gonna stick with that. I probably paint that series along with other stuff, but I could see myself continuing the Twisted Circus story for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Like
For sure. Where do you get some of the ideas for some of your themes, like Twisted Circus, for example?
Real life. It's funny. I never realized it, but I've been painting and drawing. I've had this thing for elephants even since I was young, and I have pieces since 2014 that I forgot about until I look at the date of elephants. So I was into these elephants, and I've always felt like an elephant we represent kindred energies and spirits. Like they're good luck. I'm an extremely lucky person, and most people that know me, I'll say it like I'm blessed, I'm lucky. I just kind of like self-affirmation and accepting that from the universe.
That's cool that you believe in that.
Yeah, I'm like, look, if that's what you want me to be, then I'll be that.
Right? Yeah, right?
So that, but also like they're very empathetic creatures, and when you hear these stories of how like they're one of the few animals that when one of the packs die, they stay there, they cry about it.
Right.
There was
they appear to really experience some true emotions.
Yeah, there's records of like mother elephants losing a baby and just laying there and crying until she dies next to him. So so I've always had a connection to the elephants. And for some odd reason, like ballerinas have always been in my life since young. I went to this high school, and it was visual and performing arts, and there was a lot of ballerinas there. I had to wait for my bus to come like 45 minutes after school, so I would sit in the theater and just watch them practice. And so I was drawing ballerinas back then, and my ex-wife was also infatuated with ballerinas, and she used to dance also. So there was that, and then I think what really like sparked Twisted Circus, honestly, was our split when me and her divorced and went through like a really ugly custody battle over the kids. I have 2 little boys. That's the circus.
Yeah, right. Hey, I know all about that. Yeah,
I was drawing really crazy. I was drawing and painting a lot, and I was using the ballerina already. And I already decided I'm gonna tell my story with these characters. And then the circus thing just came. It kind of just like made sense. And then so I used that as therapy, but it made so much sense like that I really fell in love with the concept. And like I have a prototype of a toy that I'm hiding over there, I haven't showed nobody. Working on like I would love to do a children's book. And like really take this concept and bring it outside of just me and my personal
man,
like.
You so should.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I do get to like share like personal things. I use most of the time I use the ballerina to represent a relationship, a particular relationship with somebody or whatever that situation was in that particular time. So the ballerina will change. Like for people that actually pay attention, like if you look at the different hairstyles, then you can kind of almost see who, like the different time periods of different relationships, And then the elephant is always me, but it's like different sides, different emotions. Like, so you might see an adult elephant with the blunts and definitely more, of a man kind of me.
Yeah, I was just that masculine.
That's kind of like more me, like knowing myself. But then you're gonna see a lot of kid elephants that are just like you don't know, you can't even tell if it's a man or a woman. It's just like a kid elephant, and it's there to serve a different purpose. It's different. It's to
represent a different emotion. Yeah.
Right. And then the girl will always be there to balance it and.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun, man. I have a lot of stuff I wish I could. I just don't want to like talk about stuff until it's solid.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's cool to hear you explain some of the Twisted Circuits because, for a lot of us, especially like on Instagram, for the people that follow you, it's more of a visual experience. You don't get to hear the kind of, you get to read a little bit, obviously, but to hear you explain it and share about it is very
that's definitely
fulfilling.
a challenge. Like, how you always trying to figure out how do you get this idea across, like more than just a cool drawing. You know? Oh, you're going to like the bright colors and You're gonna like the pretty ballerinas, but how do you make it more than just a cool picture or a nice color design or whatever? Like, and I find that in the mistakes I make in the paintings and keeping those mistakes is kind of, I feel like that triggers people to kind of look a little deeper. Like, he could have fixed that, but there's a reason why it's not fixed,
I like that so much better than the other side, like what you were talking about earlier, where you come in and just whitewash and start over, you make one mistake. I think that that resonates with me so much more.
And especially if it's one of those mistakes that if you tried to do it, you couldn't do it. Like the weird happenings, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, but you can. It's it'd be very challenging to recreate it. Those are the ones that I'm like, okay, I'm protecting that. I'm not gonna cover that.
Yeah.
Or like sometimes things will happen in paintings where a part is just like distorted, and I'm like, dude, that feels like how I feel. Like just a distortion.
Yeah. Well, there's two parts of that I want to hit. Number one is, like, I love the concept of, like, a piece of art is technically, like, never. It's only done when you decide it's done, or when you stop painting. Like, because it can always be added to. But to me, the biggest thing about what you do, and all artists, whether they're musicians or traditional artists or whatever, what you're doing at the end of the day is you're conveying emotion. You're trying to share or get the listener or the observer or whomever to feel an emotion. And I think that's what we all try to do. And I think art is one of the very few ways that you can do that without words.
That is it. That is, like, I think that's probably my strength is that I understand. Like, it is feelings to me, and there is people there that actually see it and feel it. I know they do because they'll
let you know about it, right? Well, that's one of the cool things that's rewarding about all of this is getting that positive feedback. When people let you know that what you're doing is impacting them, dude, that's so rewarding for us. Like, that's the selfish part for me. Why I do what I do is, like, it's kind of been a theme this past week. We've been talking about it. It's like, man, you just realize how lucky you are to get to have these experiences and to get to have these people come to you and share these moments with you and how you've impacted them. Man, like, I'd take that over. You obviously got to pay your bills, but I would rather have that over money any day of the week.
I mean, to feel like what you're doing is actually doing something. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
so how in the world do you go about dealing with a 5-story mural?
This one is really crazy because there's a parking lot next to it that you can bring the lift to, but it's at an angle. So you can't. So it's 5 stories.
Is it real skinny like that other one too? Like, it's almost like a slender profile?
It's on the side. It's facing the side. So there's no way to get a lift there. It's on steps.
It's all those stairs, yeah.
So there's no way to build a scaffold. So there's only 2 ways to get to this particular wall. One, you get this. Either way, you're gonna have to get this 85-foot lift to go over the 5-foot wall from behind it.
Oh, wow.
And then be in a basket and drop you down.
Wow.
That's one. And then the other one is that they have this other lift, and the guy said it's possible, so we're about to find out. But it's another, like, 85-foot one, but the arm is so long that I can come from the bottom, and then at the end there's a little, little elbow,
tweaker, little bend
little wrist action there that can bend it in.
Nice.
And I'll have to do the bottom half and then drive it around to the street. And then do the top half
from the other side.
Wow. So I'll be like, instead of being like, 30, 40 feet up in the air, it'll be stretching me straight across, like
30 feet across the air.
Right? Yeah, and then I'll just be going like up and down a little bit. So
man.
It's gonna be an experience. I'm not even. It's gonna be an experience. I'm excited. I know that my adrenaline will take me through the whole thing.
Right.
But there's definitely some challenges of shit I haven't done before.
Yeah, well, because I was thinking about that, like, just from a scale perspective, like, once you start getting into multiple stories and that high of a distance, then you really almost have to start thinking about the perspective of the viewer from the street. Like, you have to put things in perspective when you're painting them.
Yeah, I gotta get
tricky, man.
Well, I have to have the drawing down first, like, for sure. Because once you get that close, you don't even look at the drawing anymore. You're just looking at sections.
That's so hard,
like,
man.
yeah,
I
it
cannot
has to.
imagine doing that.
Yeah. So hopefully, it's gonna work out.
Yeah,
Like
it's
either
gonna
way.
be amazing.
Even if I have to like just draw it, fix it, draw it, fix it. You know, it's just getting that main drawing down, the placement. Once that's done, then you switch to a different part of the process. Then it's just like filling in.
Right. Yeah, just filling in those big
Yeah.
gaps of space or whatever.
Yeah.
It just seems very challenging to me. I really wondered a lot about how, because I enjoy art and I enjoy sketching and small scale stuff or whatever. But when you're trying to take a small scale concept and then blow it up.
Yeah.
Without doing some kind of like a projector, tracer kind of whatever kind of thing. That's the part that blows me away about what you guys do. You in particular, is like how you can make it that
big.
large, and then
Yeah.
but still make it so real. Have it so much depth and texture to it.
It's funny because in a lot of artists I talk to that do both canvases and murals, a lot of times the canvases take way longer than a mural. Using brushes, paying attention to details at a different level, where murals, like everybody, with a few exceptions, most murals you don't see, they're at least 10 feet away. Sometimes they're even farther away.
That's true. That's a good point.
So you get away with a lot. Also,
Right.
Traditionally, if you're like with the cans, a lot like I am, there's a little forgiveness as far as walking up close and looking at things, versus when you're on a canvas and you're trying to sell a canvas for the same price that you're selling one of these big murals for. It's a different pressure.
And there's a different expectation
and a
too.
different audience.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah,
Like a way more critical audience.
Definitely.
So
yeah, everybody loves a mural.
No,
right?
I could do a mural
but
like coloring
pick
book
apart
style.
a picture.
I can literally do like a coloring book style mural. And when I say coloring book, just mean like a basic approach.
Super simple.
Super simple. And all I gotta do is do it big, and I'll be in the news. But try to do that same thing on a piece of paper, and they look at you like
what is this crap, right? That's a brilliant, because it's a completely different perspective on essentially the same art.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. Which piece are you most proud of as far as murals go? Anyone in particular?
I really love what I did at the Edge.
That one is amazing.
It was a big project, and that they would let me do my thing, for something that big, and they're like, you have full creative control. Just show us what you're gonna do. So that was really special. Since then, even before then, like I already committed to myself. Like, all right, wait. Let me think. Which one was it? It was one of the. So I do these faces. I try to I have a series of murals. I don't have a title for it yet, or if I ever will. But it's basically a profile of a face. It's always a minority of some sort, like a little black kid or Hispanic woman. I got like 4 or 5 of them up now, like 5 in the city. But it's always the same thing, a profile and all these flowers coming out, right? And it's kind of like the basic theme is that no matter who it is, whose face is, they're always looking the same way. So we're kind of saying we're all the same, and the flowers are kind of like where your head's at. So your train of thought, your imagination, the way you think, basically. And in my own like elusive way, I'm trying to say, it doesn't matter what you look like. We're all interchangeable. I could put any face there. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm doing. I'm just switching out the faces. They're all looking the same way. And then if we can get our heads in the same place, then that don't matter. You know what I mean?
Brilliant.
But it was one of those. I did it, and I did it, pretty fast. But I was like, bro, I like this. This is my new favorite. And I was like, okay, that's it. This is my new favorite. My next one has to be my new favorite, whatever it takes. No matter what anybody says, paying me or not paying me. Like, in my head,
it needs to be your favorite.
It needs to be my favorite. Right. So the next one, I did it, and it was comparable. And I was like, well, I'm going to work on these flowers to get them tighter. And I did. And the next one, and then when I did the one at the Edge, I definitely felt the same thing. I was like, okay, this is my new favorite. Oh shit! Now I'm challenging myself.
Yeah. Well, it's cool because each time you're kind of stepping up your game a little bit.
Yeah,
each time you're ratcheting it up a little bit.
And since then, I've done. That's probably like the third one since then. So, and I'm solid. Like I'm seeing the progression. The last one I did, I do notice that I'm I'm focusing a lot on being efficient and sharp, and I do notice that I'm like, all right, I'm reminding myself, don't lose that edge though.
Yeah,
The
that
sloppy,
yeah.
or the like, don't be afraid of the mess that so many people are scared of. Like so. We'll see. I have a plan for this big wall. That's not changing. But outside of that, I have a few possible jobs. One of these jobs is about to get blessed with some craziness that I'm gonna get messy. I think the messy stuff is just more exciting.
Yeah, it's more dynamic.
It's unpredictable. You don't know, like, and you're taking chances. Like, it's way harder to protect property when you're slinging paint. Like, you got to really think about, okay, where's this bouncing off of?
Right. Like, what's the aftermath?
Yeah. So
got to have the canvases.
And I got like
up
some
to protect
like big paint guns now that you can take the nozzle and like, so they spray wide, but if you take it and you spin it around, it sprays a strong stream.
Oh, nice. That's super detailed.
Well, no, like
drawing a line almost.
No, it's powered. Like, it's super messy. Like, you like do splashes, like really cool.
Oh, so it creates the
yeah.
splatter.
So instead of like a strong wide spray to cover big ground,
right,
it's this little powerful stream that you can like.
Yeah, like because as a contractor, that's how you clean the tip. You turn it around backwards and you spray.
And the pressure will clean
but you're using it as
turn it around and let the paint. Yeah. So
dude, I'm halfway to being an artist. I don't even realize it, man. Just from my contractor days, I got half the tools I need to go at this thing right now, man.
Man, the funnest thing is problem solving, like creatively problem solving.
Yeah,
I use that as a teaching tool with my kids all the time. Like, no, there is always an answer.
Yeah,
you just got to look at it from the right perspective. There's always an answer.
Yeah, well, and it lets those wheels turn a little bit. Like makes you use your imagination, use your creativity to figure some things out. Man, that's awesome. So let me ask you this: any books or content that you're consuming on a regular basis to hone your craft, to get better at what you do? How are you continuing to learn?
Man, I wish that I could read better, because I could see myself just like living in a library and reading all the time. I'm dyslexic, so I can read in like chunks at a time, and then it just like turns into gibberish for the most part. But so yeah, I'm like the millennials on this YouTube shit all the time. The books that I read or look at on a consistent basis are still comic books, graphic novels.
Nice.
Like I never
getting ideas from there.
Yeah, I never stop. I don't get many ideas from comic books like I used to. It's all about comic books.
Well, you could tell in your earlier iterations that was a big influence on you,
like the heroes and villains, and like like, or even like looking around here, you can see. But I still look at them like consistently. It's just me keeping tapped into my kid, like my inner child.
Yeah.
But I've always paid attention to a lot of like biographies and stuff. It's just I don't retain the information the same way other people do. Like,
are there any artists on YouTube that you like to follow, or that you want to shout out to, that like you think are a good influence on you, or like would be helpful
since
to people?
COVID, I went back into David Cho pretty deep again.
David Cho?
Yeah, like he was really dope, bro. Like 10, 15 years ago, like super sick. But I had already like went through all his stuff, but I kind of went back. Let me think. There's this guy Kipto, I think, that has some really cool graffiti YouTube channel. If anybody's into it, they probably know him. Like, he's super popular. But like I'm more like, I'll just go down the rabbit hole and find things. Random things,
like all of us, right?
Yeah, I don't subscribe to one thing too much. You find yourself
digging in where.
Yeah, or even like if you pay attention to one artist too much, then you start like leaning that way a little too much.
You like spraying better, or you like brushing?
Spray.
Do you?
I'll change my mind, but yeah, spray right now.
Right now,
anybody says. I usually like I'm an artist, but right now I'm a muralist.
Yeah, well, it seems to have taken over your free time, right? Like it seems to be what's keeping you the busiest right now.
Like I said in the beginning of our conversation, like when you find something that's worth investing your concentration into, and that's where it's at. Like, I don't know how long I'll do it for. I may do it for the rest of my life, but I know right now that's that's the front thing I'm in my head.
Yeah,
and I'm just like,
as well it should be, because right now, I mean, it's like these are the times for that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
you got something to say. What better gallery than the streets,
right?
Unless you're a tattoo artist, that's the only best gallery. That's the only gallery I'm kind of jealous of is that tattoo artists get to paint on someone's body permanently.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's a relationship.
That's serious.
Of artist and collector.
Yeah, that's a commitment.
But yeah, that's just super dope.
Have you ever thought about getting into any of that? Messing with
I've been
tattoo
approached
stuff?
a few times by Maya Bailey approached me when I first came to Atlanta. The first time I tried to come to Atlanta, this was like '99, and I was in Lenox Mall with my sketchbook, and Maya Bailey. Sounds crazy, but this is literally how it happened. Like I was in the mall and sketchbook. I was working at Lenox Mall. I was brand new to Atlanta. The first time I tried to come here, and I left. And he just saw me drawing, and he came up, and we talked, and he had his book, and he was like, "Oh, drawing," and next thing you know, like, cause like I didn't know anybody, he's like, "Oh, come over." I go to his apartment where he was at the time, and he was doing websites and some other stuff besides art and tattooing. He was showing me all this other stuff, and then as a side note, he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna."
Oh yeah,
by the way, I'm about to open a tattoo shop. Like, he goes, "I do tattoos. Your shit's dope. Like, you should be an apprentice. Let me teach you how to do tattoos. I'm about to open this tattoo shop called City of Ink." And I really, when he was telling me all this, I just saw like a lot of myself, like a young person with these big dreams, you know? And in my head, I was like, "Oh, that's cool. That's what you're going to do, because I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, and that. I'm not doing tattoos, right?" But, man, bro, in hindsight.
Probably would have been a good moneymaker.
Yeah, long story short, like, so that's 99. I left. I didn't come back until 2004. I came back and ran into Maya Bailey. It was a whole new game.
World, yeah.
He opened that tattoo shop. Not only did he open it, he made it, like,
blew it up, man.
Blew it up
yeah.
at a national level where the whole like world knows about it, but made it a staple here and a whole movement. Opened a second tattoo shop, and made himself, just a staple as not only just like an artist, but like he serves the community. Like,
he's doing a lot of good too,
bro. It's a privilege that me and him call each other friend. Like.
And he just randomly ran into him.
We shared that exchange,
that's
and I came back,
crazy.
and everything he said that he was gonna do, he did it. And I gotta say, that's another big motivation. Like, I came back because I saw Art Beats and Lyrics in the High Museum, and I was doing music at the time. But when I saw, I was like, wait, in Atlanta, they have Art Beats and Lyrics in the High Museum. And now I know all the politics and all that shit behind it. But at the time, I didn't know nothing.
Right.
I was just like, wait, they got this urban, this type art, my art, and this type of venue, this type of museum.
In the nicest place in the town.
And that shit opened my horizons. So I was like, I always really been good at this art shit. Like, I always been really good at this art. Like, and eventually just clicked back over. The music was fun, but once I saw that, I was like, man, this is the city to be in. And
opened up all those possibilities.
Yeah, man. I started painting again and really went heavy with the graphics. But
that just shows you that perspective again, man. Like, your perspective on things can change so much, and as it does change, how that impacts you and what you think is possible, and also, how it impacts your life.
And also who you keep around you. Because like, I don't know how many people I've mentioned. But I must have mentioned at least 4 or 5 people that I've intersected with early in my life and what kind of impacts they've had on me. And all of these people are super successful at what they do, and they're happy in their life. And that's really all you could want, So I guess really, man, I think it would be so sick if I could be that for someone, just like those people I mentioned earlier.
I think you are, and maybe you don't even realize it.
Maybe.
Yeah, especially this past year. But just the exposure that you're getting and what people are seeing out of you, I think so. I think you're planting seeds, man, for sure.
It's been a fun ride. I just want to keep getting better at the craft and not get sidetracked.
Yeah,
just
keep evolving.
Because you do gotta play the popularity game, and it sucks. Like, just to keep remind people that you exist, and be like, hey, I'm doing this, just to like
constantly self-promoting yourself.
Yeah, know, and it is a big part of the hustle, but you get caught up in that, and you'll end up, losing your footing on what made you valuable.
Is that the aspect of it that you dislike the most? Or what aspect of this career and this line of work and everything do you dislike the most? What's the toughest, or maybe not dislike, but what's the toughest
I know you're
part
saying,
of it? Maybe
besides just keeping yourself motivated, like the starting all the time.
Yeah, that like we were talking about before.
And that tied into like, I think that's like part of the bigger picture of what I don't like. I'm fortunate to have people around me that believe in what I'm doing, so they support and they encourage. So that's really cool. But like, the tough part, man, is just sometimes you're just fucking by yourself, bro. Like, you be just like
lonely, right?
and not just like lonely in a lonely sense, because like, you know, I'm surrounded by people that love me,
Right.
but like, you have this vision and you have this like, oh, you have these goals, and yeah, you got people around you that are supporting you, but it's not. I haven't found a partner.
Yeah, nobody that
You
can
know what
help
I'm
you
saying?
do that.
Yeah, or someone
help you
that
achieve what you're trying to do.
Bro, I have nobody that's in that they're consistently, hey bro, we should do this. Here's your next idea, or oh, we should do this. Let me help you. You know, do this. It's, you know, it's challenging, man. Like, okay, not only do you come up with the ideas to paint them, but you also gotta like brand yourself. You gotta figure out like
You're a one-man rodeo.
yeah, and unfortunately, I'm not like part of any of the circles or the cliques like that have kind of developed here in Atlanta, like in the creative scene. Like, I'm not part of like the ABV, you know, collection. They have a little collection artists that they show. You know, a lot of the galleries, they have regular group shows, and they kind of get their artists and they keep to their circle.
Right.
Same thing with like me and Maya are friends, but Maya has his own thing going on, you know?
Right.
So like, I see myself like, that's the one thing. If I had, the one thing I hate is the same thing that I love. I love it that it's me and I'm doing it and I get to pick what I want to say, but then I hate it that it's me and I don't have someone else that's on the same mission.
Yeah.
You know?
Or even just somebody to like bounce ideas off of, like, you know, having that springboard back and forth.
Yeah.
I feel exactly
or like, yeah,
the same
like
way.
another like dope ass artist that was like, yeah, let's fucking run this and let's run it, you know,
Like a partner in crime
and
kind
maybe
of
that
thing.
season will come, maybe it won't, you know. I haven't experienced anything like that since I worked on music. When we were doing music, it was a crew, and it
Right.
was so much fun. Like, it made you get better because you're just part of this, like this little healthy competition going on.
Yeah, it's like a
and-
collaborative effort.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like right now, like I got to convince myself that I'm my own competition, and
Dude, that rings so true to me because I'm the same boat. Like, I'm this one-man rodeo out there by myself, and you know, you're recording and editing by yourself, and you know, sometimes I'm making up episodes by myself, and I don't even have anybody to like, hey, does this sound stupid? Am I on the right track? Am I,
you
you know,
need
like,
that, bro.
yeah,
you
it's
need that
such
like critically.
yeah.
And like I said, I'm fortunate. I do have people, like consistent people that are like the inner circle. They know what I'm planning on. They know what I'm doing. And I share that information for that. I need feedback.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But they're not necessarily artists per se. They're not necessarily.
Well, they
in
got
the
their
boat
own
with
lane.
you.
They're doing their own thing, and we try to help each other, you know, as much as we can. But that partnership isn't there. As far as like, you know, it's not a company.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But you know, it is what it is. It's.
Well, maybe you start your own group. Maybe you start your own studio. Like, that's, I mean, one of the things that I've found with a lot of this is like, if you can't find the group, if you can't find somebody else doing it, then just do it yourself. You know, there's a really neat guy that I've started jumping into his. He's got this weekly meeting with influencers and stuff, and he just put this group together just to try to get so he could learn what he was trying to do, like on social media and stuff. And now it's turned into this whole thing, and now he's kind of become known for organizing this group. And he was just trying to figure out some shit for himself, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
But like, and that's, so I've been thinking about that. Well, maybe I should be starting my own little group and trying to, because I'm, like you said, man, that synergy that you get from bouncing stuff off of each other, and you know, somebody that's kind of broing you up and like, come on, let's go do this. I miss that a lot.
And it was crazy. It's like, there's people that I know that when they're around, they're about work. But they'll be the craziest people. Like, and I mean this in the most loving way. And if you know who you are, I'm probably talking about you. But like, I love like, oh, we're gonna do some work. Yo, they'll show up and they're gonna work, and they make me work past what I would even work.
Right.
They're like, oh, we're gonna do it. Let's do it. Bye. But then like when it comes to like, okay, we're not working. They're the same way with play.
Right.
Like they want,
90 miles
they're gonna
a
go
minute.
hard, right? So like,
I'm getting too old for that, man. I can't hang with all that anymore.
yeah. So like, yeah, it's this weird balancing act, you know.
Yeah. So you do work with them, and then when you clock out, they say, "All right, man, I gotta do it. I gotta do your crazy party."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
So, as an artist, do you consider yourself to be a night owl or an early bird? Since you're really struggle with that schedule thing.
I'm nothing. I'm both.
Yeah, just whatever.
Yeah, there's no way to predict it. Like, I hate sleeping, and but you know, there's no way to predict it. I do 1 week one way, next week the other way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: are there any regular routines that you have in your life, whether it be morning routines, evening routines, or just something there, or a process with an artistic process that contribute to some of your success?
I would definitely encourage that.
But yeah, again, it's one of those.
The only routine
not
I
as
had
I say, not do as I say, not as I do.
Every day, 7:30, my alarm goes off to call my kids.
Nice.
Before school. No, in the evening. They
in
stay
the evening time.
in Massachusetts with their mother, and their mother likes to have them to bed early. So that was a routine for a long time.
Nice.
Until my youngest was like, "Dad, you call too much," and so that took the alarm off. And I was like, "Let me miss a few days," but I do want to do routines. I've heard this advice from a handful of artists that I do respect, and they say when you wake up, get out of your house.
Yeah,
Get
up and do something.
And get up and do something, and it makes the rest of the day easier. And I've done it a few times, and it's true. But yeah, no. The only routines I have are bad habits, and I'm really like in a transitional point. Like I'm getting up there, like I'm finally maturing, but routines are a good thing.
All of us,
No, it is a good thing. Take it from somebody that knows the downfalls of not having a routine.
Right.
You know?
I guess let me tell you the bad things that happened in my life from not having a morning routine. You sound a lot like me in that regard. All right, so let me ask you this. So what's some bad advice that you hear in the art world, or advice that just kind of like some of that stuff that just makes your skin crawl?
Bad advice? Go to school.
Really?
Art school. Like unless you're like, there's like maybe, I was gonna say 5, but there's probably like maybe 10 like really good schools in the country. You know, unless you're going to like Pratt or like one of these like, schools,
Juilliard or Berkeley School of Music, something like that. Yeah.
And shout out to SCAD. I think SCAD is a great school.
Yeah, and Atlanta College of Art for that matter. They're another.
There's a lot, and you know what? Actually, and there's another Atlanta school, Creative Circus, is really dope.
I'm not familiar with them.
They're dope. So unless you're going to a school that got a big rep for being a badass school, like don't waste your time doing what you could do on your own online. You know what I'm saying? And really, unless you're from a school that has a real rep that's like, damn, you came from that school, don't go to like, I wouldn't waste money on any art institutes or any of these like anything that says institute.
right.
Or like these like private schools and stuff.
They're just looking for your money.
Yeah, they just want your loan, and they're gonna put you through a system that someone already showed them that works, and they're not worried about challenging you. Save your money. Get lynda.com. Find what keeps you still, so you can stay.
You said get
lynda.com.
What's that?
It's just tutorials. Like I don't know if it's still. At one point, it was only like $25 a month, or if you're a student, you get it for free. And it's just every tutorial you could think of as far as like visual programs, like Photoshop, Illustrator, all that. Right. You need to know that stuff, even if you just paint. Like you got to know that stuff to fix your own shit, promote yourself. Yeah, then the digital world we're living in, you have to be able to. You need to have that. You're cutting your paycheck in half if you don't have some digital skills behind your hand skills. Nice. But I would definitely say that. That's people that tell you, unless it's a real school, don't worry about that. You concentrate on what you're trying to do. You could teach yourself online, and then it's about your portfolio. And you trying to build a portfolio. A big mistake that I see all the time is people asking me about how to price their murals or how to price their work when they don't have any murals under their belt yet or any like work under their belt. So like you're worried about getting paid before you even did 5 murals.
Before you even know if you're any good at it.
Before you went under the bridge and went and painted.
Right.
Or before you went and bought some big wooden panels and went at home and practiced, you know? Like, you're thinking backwards. No, you know you're going to get paid nothing because you have no skills. You need to get your skills up. Ask me about how you get your skills up. Then we could talk about money. Like, it's a backwards mentality.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just us in America. Like, we feel like,
well, chasing that almighty dollar. I mean,
yeah, or we feel
day,
like people owe us something. Nobody owes us nothing. Like,
that's a great point.
Yeah, you don't get paid to learn. Well, unless you finesse it.
That's brilliant. You don't get paid to learn. Yeah, you're either learning or you're getting paid, one or the other.
Yeah.
It's very rare you get to do both.
Yeah, unless you finesse it and you can get that kind of learn on the job opportunity.
Right. Hey, and if you can, and if you can, by all means, take advantage. Right.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: if you had a podcast, who would you like to talk to? Who would you want to pick their brain and learn about?
Killer Mike.
Killer Mike. Nice. Yeah. He's on my list.
Killer Mike. I want to talk to Dax, is a street artist here that is like a legend. I would love to get more Atlanta history from him. I would really like to have a talk with W and Peter Ferrari, because not only are they artists, but they both have created platforms for other artists. Nice. And I kind of feel like maybe sometime in the future I would like to, maybe the circus might be something where I could feature other artists. And
yeah, for
so
sure.
I'm interested into like, you know, what their motivations were and that.
Nice.
Yeah, there's times, bro. If I had a podcast, I already know. Actually, I want to do a YouTube channel, and I want to make the focus of it my biggest like resource, and that's the city itself. Like Atlanta has so much
to offer,
right?
Dude.
I could just make like an endless series on just what like the underground creative scene is here.
Dude, that would be amazing.
You know, so actually, me and Brandon are already working on it. So.
I was gonna say, dude, you better be pressing forward on that, dude, because that's. I mean, there's a need, and that. I mean, and this, like you talking about, this place is oozing with talent. I mean, that would keep you busy for a long time.
Plethora of like content, and it's relevant. You
know?
And that's the main thing, that's relevant, you know, to our time and relevant to people all around the world. They're watching us in this city, you know, for one reason or another. They love it or hate it, but they're watching.
No, I think a lot of people love it, and I think we are kind of the example for how things can be for a lot of other cities. I mean, don't get me wrong, we all have work to do and room to grow, but this, I mean, I'm so grateful to live in this city, and I think it's certainly one of the most culturally diverse in the country, for sure. So, talking about your thing, let me ask you this: what about for this podcast? Anybody come to mind do you think would be an ideal guest for this podcast, or somebody you'd like to hear?
Extraordinary Life?
Somebody that would fit in this realm?
Yeah, a lot of people. I have a list in my head. I'm just trying to scroll through them and see which one.
You can throw as many as you want. I don't care. You can throw out a couple of them. Because I might chase a few of them down. That's a lot of times how I've gotten a few of my opportunities for interviews is by asking other folks that same question.
Referrals.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Networking, right?
I always have a high respect for anybody that does anything independently. So, like, I could easily name off, like, 10 artists that are in similar boats like me, that this is all we do. We don't have a job. We just live off of our art.
Yeah.
Outside of that, like, I think that I have a friend, Nick, that does photography. Do you know Nick?
I'm not
sure. He writes songs. He plays guitar. He plays at the bar. And he gets gigs shooting. And like he that's all he does right now. And he's multifaceted. And I think like I think that would be interesting. He's not like blow it up like on like super big on the map where he's super famous or anything, but the conversation of like how he built his own extraordinary life. Like he similar to me. He's just doing what he wants to do. He's getting enough to get by.
Yeah.
And he plays every week at this bar down the thing, and he's happy. You know what I mean? And
living the dream, dude.
Yeah,
that
good.
sounds like a perfect guest.
Yeah.
That's exactly the kind of guy I'm looking for.
Yeah, like something like that is something I'd be interested in. A lot of times, most of these interviews are people that are established already, but like, you know, a lot of us aren't gonna. Most people in the world aren't gonna be able to, like, you know, own their own big successful company or be like a lot of the more famous people that get interviewed. So sometimes just hearing somebody that's right around the corner and is living a good life, how he's doing it, or even like, you know, just being encouraged and just finding like happiness in real life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so that was kind of the impetus for this show. Is like, my thought was, as if you look at a lot of the famous or super like wealthy, for example, not necessarily successful, but I use the term wealthy. Yeah. Like, there's not a lot of happiness there. There's not a lot of contentment there. There's not a lot of, like, if you really drill into their real life, they're not very satisfied. They're not very fulfilled. But then you can look at somebody who's, you know, drives a truck for a living, or who's a plumber, or, you know, that, you know, knee deep in, you know, horse shit or whatever, you know, and is one of the happiest guys you've ever met. Yeah. And so to me, it's like, but you'll never get to see that guy. You'll never get to hear from that guy that's truly happy, that truly has purpose and fulfillment.
Don't you feel like that information is more valuable?
I do. That's why I started the podcast. I want to showcase that guy.
How are you happy in what out from the outside might seem like a mundane existence, but you're completely happy and content? Like, those secrets are more interesting. You know, I do have one other person that's worth mentioning. My friend Luis. He had a pop-up that he was doing, and just recently secured a place.
Nice.
But he does Puerto Rican food, and he just got his brand new, like, it's a little corner spot over there, not far. It's like right there. Actually, it's right next to ABV Gallery where that bike shop is.
Okay, yeah.
There's a little shop,
the little round thing,
shop back there. So he took that over.
Nice.
And he took it over, and in a matter of those first few months, he blew up, and then COVID hit. Oh. So now, like, you have no idea, like, the struggles and what this man has to go through
just to keep the doors open,
keep his dream alive. And so, like, yeah, man, but he don't give up, and he's like,
awesome,
bro, like.
Well, I'd love to talk to him just so I could promote his business and help get the word out.
You could have the podcast at his place.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's the best part, right?
But he's good people.
I'd swap out a podcast for a good meal.
And I stay tuned in because, like, literally he's hanging on by his teeth, like trying to keep his thing.
Yeah.
And it should be. I mean, it's a great location. Everybody around there.
Well, what's the name of it? Shout it out so we can make sure we plug it on this podcast too.
My Abuelas.
My Abuelas.
My Abuelas. Yeah.
Down on the beltline.
Yeah, I follow them on my Instagram, so you can just go to my follows and you'll find them.
Hey, I'll put in the show notes too. I'll put a little link to them so they can follow them there as well.
Yeah,
that's really cool. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I love supporting those types. There's another gal, Mary Geyer. She just opened up Nuts and Berries over down there in Decatur. They saved. There was another health food store. They've been there for like 20 years, and they finally had to shut the doors down. So her and her partner came in and bought it and got it reopened. And same kind of thing. Right as COVID hit. I mean, they literally were scheduled to open March 22nd.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right when the shitstorm came through. So yeah. And again, same thing with them. I'm going to do a profile with them for the podcast. Matter of fact, we were supposed to do it last week, or this past week that we just got done with. All right, so this is these two last questions are ones I stole from Tim Ferriss, first of all, so I can't take any credit. One's going to be really is already pretty easy for most people, but as a muralist, it'll be great to get your answer for that. And then the last one it usually takes a little bit of time to think, so you can think about the second question as you're talking about the first one. So the first question is if you had a giant billboard for all the world to see, what would you put on it? And then the last question is, what's your favorite item under $100 that you use on an everyday basis that you could not live without?
Wow. Okay.
So the first one, giant billboard. And you've had a few giant billboards in your life.
Right now, if I had a huge billboard, I'd probably... Like, regularly, I would put my ballerina in an elephant and, like, say something about
Twisted Circus.
Yeah, or say something about like treat each other nice, and I feel like the world still needs to hear that. But I think with what's going on right now, if someone was like, "Hey, we got this huge billboard for you. You can do what you want," I would paint the multicolored fist across it right now.
Kind of like you did with the ice cream guys,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
pop guys.
yeah. And I've been using it a few times since then. But I want to keep pushing that. Like now, like we need equality. Everybody needs to feel equal, and not even just like race,
Valued.
but also like gender. I think that like humans as a species, we've evolved far enough now that we could see how ignorant we might have been in the past. We need to forgive ourselves, grow, learn, move on, and treat each other equal.
That's
So
beautiful, man.
yeah, for
That's
the time,
beautiful.
for now, like I said, any other time, I'm all about selfless promotion, like shameless promotion.
Yeah,
like, I
right.
would definitely put my shit up. But the second question, every day, I use every day.
An item under $100, cheaper the better, kind of thing. And and the reason why I wanted to ask you this is coming from an artist perspective. I'm kind of
have this
curious,
little,
but it doesn't have to be art related.
It's not. It's this little joint rolling kit that you can you get the little raw papers, and then it's the cone that you can take your crumbled up weed, and it's like a funnel that puts it down into your paper. And then I got this little stick. It's really just one of my brushes to poke it in and twist it. So those two little things that probably don't even cost 50 cents every day, and if I lose, and I haven't lost them, which says a lot.
Right, right.
So basically, I don't lose them.
Especially
Like,
two little things like
yeah.
that. Like you have a hard time keeping up stuff anyway. But
Nice.
yeah,
man.
So that's the go-to.
Definitely
Huh?
under $100. Yeah.
Awesome. I
if
love
it was over 100, then I'd have to say my phone, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
That's too easy. That's why I like to keep it cheap. That's brilliant. I love that. I was talking earlier about how all these little connections that I've got to have through doing this podcast, and one of the cool connections that was able to come together.
What number episode are you on now?
In the 60s, I think about 64, 65, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, somewhere on in there.
That's crazy.
I just about ran out of content. And then this past 2 weeks, I've just been blowing up. I've actually got a pile of edit work to do, and I've just been doing nothing but interviews this past 2 weeks. So
that's cool.
Yeah, finally getting back ahead of the game, which hadn't been the case. But anyway, what I was saying before. One of the cool things about doing this is like you get to create these little connections. You get to have these little experiences where somebody will reach out to you or you're able to connect to people. With you, the cool experience I got to have was with the King of Pops. They had put something out there about looking for local artists to kind of do some murals, do some things. And I was one of the first ones to see it. And of course, the first thing that popped in my head was you. And I don't know that I had anything to play in that at all. I mean, y'all did your thing. But then 2 days later...
You DM'd me.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, they're doing this thing. No. And I as soon as I read it, I turned around and reached out to them. And they were like, yeah, cool, you can come do whatever you want. And what was really cool was that he pulled up to their truck. And because I was like, okay, I want to paint something on the top. Because, like, that's kind of like street art. That's like everybody wants to get at the top.
Yeah. And
he pulled up the truck and let me climb up on their truck.
Right.
And paint on it. So... I got these really cool photos, and it was a dope experience. And his name Steve, and he's an awesome person. He actually said that I can come back. There's another part, and it's on my list. Remember we were talking about working
upcoming stuff,
working stuff that when you're not getting paid and still working. So he said I could do this other piece, and I'm like cool, and I have it on my list between when I got free time. There's another
one to work on.
Yeah. So same, and what I'm gonna do is the elephant holding that sign again, just a different way, but holding the multicolored fist. Yeah,
it's just so cool to see those little experiences, and like that would never have happened if I wasn't doing this today.
There's no way I could ever count how many times that exchange of energy happens. Like my whole existence, as far as my profession, paying bills, as far as me. And the IRS is concerned, me and money are concerned anyway. It's for the last 14 years, it's all built on that. Because it's just relationships. Yeah. Talking to people, I do an exchange with them. They might not show up for 4 years. And they come back and we do another exchange. Or just like meeting people, just being yourself and making yourself available. rubbing people the right way. It turns around. You didn't have to look out for me. You could have saw that and just been like, oh, that's cool. Imagine if Eric Nine did that and scrolled. But you, for some reason, we had enough of an interaction that you were like, yo, I should show this to him.
Yeah.
You know? And again, like I said, making yourself available, you know? And, bro, like, when I was, this is the craziest thing, and then we can end it on this. When I was little, I always wanted to be Jubei from Ninja Scrolls. And Jubei is kind of like your traditional Japanese kung fu movie character, kind of like the Wild West style, like loner. And he goes from town to town, and he does his thing. He don't got a job. He just goes to the town, has his adventure, finds a place to sleep, eat, and then the next episode is the next town. And I just always wanted to be that. And it's funny, everywhere I went, and I've set myself up as the opposite of that, and it wasn't who I was. And even like breaking out of tradition, and all of a sudden now where I'm at, realizing that I'm motherfucking Jubei right now. I'm not rich, bro. I'm just getting by. But all I got to worry about is the next town.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think you may not be rich financially, but you're rich in life experience. You're rich in life. You know, you're rich in love. I mean, you're rich in like the important things, man.
If everyone got a book written of their life at the end of their life, my book is way more adventurous and exciting and loving and happy as a whole than plenty of millionaires. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It don't take money to live that life. You know, like
well,
I was just joking with Truth, my photographer friend, the other day. I was like, oh, we should just live that life today. You know what we did? All we did was just talk shit, paint, talk about what we're gonna do next, and ate good. You know, like, and it's like, you
dude,
can't
that's
complain.
a life,
That's it.
man.
That's it. Like,
well, it's like you were talking about earlier. Like, you know, you might not be making $1 million, but you're sitting on the side of the pool. You're painting in a perfect thing that you're painting what you want to paint, doing what you want to do, how you want to do it, in a beautiful environment. I mean, it's like, dude,
and that type of mentality is how you become more giving and more empathetic to other people, to other people's situations. Like, when you know that there's enough, and you're not like scared that there's not enough, when you're not scared of when your next meal is coming, you know,
when you can live that life in abundance and realize that there's enough for everybody.
Right.
David Meltzer talks a lot about that.
Right. And then, because what happens, fear, when you do have enough, that fear will drive you to get more than what you need, because you're scared. And that's where greed, and that's where, you know, the rich people don't understand that. They don't take days off. One Jesus would say.
Yeah, well, it's Bob Marley, so ain't too far from it. You're right.
You're absolutely right.
But so let's wrap it up, man. Give everybody a shout out about where they can find you, anything that you want to promote, talk about that's coming up, and then last but not least, any charitable organization or business that you're affiliated with that's doing a lot of good out there that you want to give a shout out to.
You can find me on Instagram at Eric_9.
And that's NINE, not the number.
ERIC_NINE. Eric9 on Facebook. Eric9 on everything else. And then twistedcircusatl.com is the website where you can sign up to be a member of Twisted Circus, which comes with perks. But basically, it's just as soon as things kind of get popping again, we do a series of like pop-up shows where we blend visual and performing arts.
Yeah, those are sick, man. Yeah. And I think there's some videos out there on YouTube that you can see, kind of get a little preview.
And then as far as charities, There was the Lost and Found Foundation with Steve Hightower. I hope I'm saying it right. Lost and Found. Yeah, I'm like 99% sure that's how it is.
I'll have the link on the show notes as
Lost
well.
and
Make
Found.
sure we get it right.
Steve Hightower. It's for homeless boys.
They're based out of Atlanta, or
yeah, they're here in Atlanta. I've done some charity work for them, and I got to do a mural for Steve. He owns a salon in Buckhead, really nice spot. And then helping out Atlanta Ballet. They're kind of going through the COVID struggle too, and all the teachers are like, first off, the teachers don't get a lot of work. They don't get paid a lot. And now, you know, just like regular school, but their classes are cut in half, you know.
right?
So they and I believe they're having a fundraiser event that I just gave a painting to somebody. I gotta ask my girl who was.
Yeah, make sure.
But
tax write-offs, you're gonna need that thing. Make sure you get.
But I do want to mention Atlanta Ballet in particular.
Cool.
Like, if you guys are looking for someone to help out here locally, like, they're doing nothing but good things, and they can definitely use some help.
They are. There's actually there's a gal down there that I want to get on for the podcast as well. So yeah, we'll be sure to put a link out there for them. Eric, thanks for your time, man.
Man.
Thanks for doing what you're doing, and thanks for painting this town up, man. And like
You're just getting started.
giving this city. I was thinking about it coming down here because GPS sent me through Decatur because of a wreck on 85 or something like that. Yeah. And I was noticing coming through there, I hadn't been to downtown Decatur in a while, how they've just dropped in all these giant condo complexes, these big square just... and it just...
It's getting repetitive.
Man. And I've got this memory of Decatur, of like the old school style, and like, you know, the old neighborhoods and all that. And like, I feel so at home with that. And and none of those giant condos relate to me. And I say that to say, when I come down here and I see your work and all the other work of all the guys on the Beltline and all this amazing artwork that's going up around this town, and it's just a beautiful thing to see, man. And it's being done right. And you guys are just, I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm so
We're in a
grateful to
special
have
place, man. Atlanta really got the best of the whole street art concept. If you think about it, New York paid a lot of dues.
Yeah.
Where it started from graffiti and all that. And LA paid a lot of dues, but broke a lot of ceilings. And I think that the timing right now, like, is perfect. So we don't have to, we learn from them. And we're doing it up right, and you're absolutely right. We're doing it right here. So many.
It's so legitimized in this town.
Talent here, like official, like, no others. They not fucking with us. Yeah,
we're gonna own it for a minute, man. Yeah. Well, hey, nothing like the AT aliens, man. Hey, man, thanks for your time, and we'll catch you on the next one.
No doubt, bro.
Thanks. So you're still here. Wow. Thanks for sticking around. So, what'd you think? What did I miss? What would you like to know more about? Who would you like to hear on the show? If you stuck around this long, maybe you won't mind giving me some feedback. And don't forget to check out the website, extraordinarypodcast.net, for all the latest episodes. And if you enjoyed the show, please take the time to share with your friends, on social media, or with anyone you think who might enjoy it. And last but not least, if you're ready to start living an extraordinary life, check out 8keystogreat.com, where you can craft your free blueprint to renovate your career, home, or lifestyle. The program is free, but you have to do the work to unlock each key. And finally, if you'd like to speak with me directly, you can book a free 30-minute Zoom call directly through my Calendly link on the contacts page. And in the meantime, check out some of the other exciting interviews with ordinary people living extraordinary lives. Thanks for listening, thanks for sharing, and most of all, thanks for just being you. I'm Nate G, and we'll see you next week.